And what's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning back in. I'm Zach Davis. Appreciate you joining me. I want to help you today make a little more sense out of the book of Revelation and all the symbolism that's in it. I was in Hebrews 13, verses like 7 to 17 last week. This week, I will be finishing Hebrews. But in verse 9, there was something that was interesting there. I want to discuss why I think this carries over into Revelation 12, where we get the discussion of the woman and the serpent and the flood and all these other things that are there, and sometimes so confusing if you're not familiar with the language of the Bible, initiated to the language of the Bible. Maybe this will help you make sense of some of that. I hope it's a blessing to you. If you don't like it, or let me say it a different way. If you don't think it's biblical, then throw it out and tell me why you don't think, but maybe we can show some scriptures as to why I come up with what I did. Do not be carried away or about with various and strange doctrines, for it's good that the heart be established by grace, not with foods which have not profited those who have been occupied with them. Again, and I keep hearing this in the comment section, people are saying that the old covenant was nailed to the cross, or the law was nailed to the cross, and it's not even relevant at all for the discussion of the rest of the New Testament. That couldn't be further than the truth. They're battling Judaizers. They're battling, just like Peter in Galatians 2, the idea of going back and eating at the table, and that those old covenant customs and rituals merited them something. You see the same thing in Colossians 2. I went to my Sunday school lesson, verses 16 to like 18. These doctrines, these strange doctrines they're being told to go back to, have to do with the old covenant stuff. So that's why it says in verse 10 and following, makes it 100% clear, we have an altar from which those who serve the table, who serve the tabernacle, have no right to eat. And he's talking about the old covenant system, those who are serving it, the rituals connected to it, the food connected to it. But I want us to focus specifically for the idea of today to where it talks about being carried about. Okay, some translations will say carried away, and it's the strange doctrine that is carrying them away. Now, when you get over to Revelation chapter 12, you're going to see the idea of a woman who's attempted to be carried away by something. Okay, and most people are going to agree that this woman is the church. And I make a lot of connections a lot of times. I did when I taught Revelation 12. I'll try to attach it down below. I did a little series on the accuser being thrown down in Revelation chapter 12, stated that it was Old Covenant Israel, that it's her doctrine, and that ties up and lines up perfectly with what we're looking at here in Hebrews chapter 13 and being carried away. So there's some interesting language that's there, and I want to kind of help you connect some of the symbolism and language to demonstrate why I think that Revelation 12 is also the same thing as Hebrews 13, and it's the idea of the Judaizers trying to sweep the woman or the church away, the followers of Christ, by her strange doctrine that she shouldn't have. But the book of Revelation symbolizes it a lot more. It's not as straightforward as Hebrews 13:9 is. The serpent, who I take to be Israel, sometimes specifically the leaders of Israel, could be priesthood, that whole idea, spewed water out of his mouth like a flood. Okay, there's our emphasis on flood, circled flood, water idea. After the woman's the church, that he, the serpent, might cause her to be carried away by the flood. Carried about, carried away. I'm going to connect water and doctrine for you in just a second. So they're being carried about by strange doctrine in Hebrews 13:9. The woman here is attempted to be carried away by the serpent, by a flood here. Okay, I'm going to make a water flood doctrine connection in just a second. So the earth helped the woman. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon had spewed out. Okay, remember John 8, Jesus said, "You're of your father the devil." I take the earth there to be, it's a Greek word from ges, the covenant land, that the covenant land swallowed up the Judaizer, swallowed up that false corrupted system, which in that paradigm, you're going to connect the high priest to the idea of dragon, serpent too. So that whole priesthood leading them astray. They're the adversary. They're the accusers. They're against God. They love to sit in the seat of Moses. Jesus said Moses sat to accuse the people. If you go back and read in the first Exodus, you get all those ideas that are connected to the accuser being Israel. I did a video on who the accuser is separately. I'll try to attach it down below too. You got to have that basis to get this carried about, carried away doctrine, flood language to be the same, but it's straight out of the text. So let me show you a little bit more. Deuteronomy 32, Moses wrote, "From God, let my teaching drop as the rain." Teaching, if you click the little subscript there, the A, that it's going to come up doctrine. Let my doctrine drop as the rain. Okay. Rain, doctrine, rain, teaching. Don't be carried about by strange doctrines. The serpent spewed out of his mouth. And so this is bad water. Okay. A water or a doctrine that would carry the woman, the church away. So Hebrews 13, Deuteronomy 32, and Revelation 12:15, same ideas all over the place. My speech distill as the dew, as raindrops on the tender herb. Underline circle Hebrews chapter 6. You get that same idea. In Matthew chapter 5, Jesus says that it would rain on the just and on the unjust, meaning that both the believers and the unbelievers would hear the word, but it wouldn't produce fruit in the unbelievers. Hebrews 6 carries about the exact same connotation, as showers on the grass. Also, grass is people, according to Isaiah 40 and Peter, whenever he wrote. Different topic, different day. For as the rain comes down, Isaiah wrote, and snow from heaven, and do not return there, but water the earth and make it bring forth a bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater. Here we go. So shall my word. Just like Deuteronomy 32, the rain and the water. Here in Isaiah 55, my word goes forth from my mouth, just like the rain that comes down and the snow from heaven. It shall not return to me void. It shall accomplish what I please and shall prosper in the thing for which I sent it. So same ideas connected there, water, all that. If you go back to the first Exodus, when you get that showdown with the sons of Korah and Abiram and Dathan, then you get some similar language. Not you don't get carried away, but you get swept away here. In the LSB, this is everything else I do is New King James. I got this in LSB. Consumed was the word in the New King James in this text, but here's what number 1625 says. Moses arose and went to Dathan and Abiram with the elders of Israel following him, and he spoke to the congregation, saying, "Turn aside now from the tents of these wicked men and touch nothing that belongs to them." Okay, they're the bad guys. They're the serpents in the story. Lest you be swept away in all their sin. Same idea of being carried away. Don't listen to them. Don't touch them. Don't believe them. That whole idea have nothing to do with them. And maybe a little bit before that, he tells them not to listen to him. So interesting ideas going all the way about there. So let's go back to the symbolic part and thinking about that as water and the woman as the church and the serpent as the Judaizers coming against them, just like the whole book of Hebrews is about. The serpent spewed water out of his mouth, Judaizing heresy, like a flood. That's his doctrine. After the woman, the church, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. Okay. So it's a flood of doctrine that's coming. But instead, the earth, and I take that to be the covenantal land, Gase, opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. So, a lot of symbolism there. I don't think that's super difficult, but you got to be down the road a little ways and do a lot of things. Look up what I've taught about Satan in the New Testament, how I've connected that to Israel. Maybe that'll help you along there. That may be your hang up in looking at some of this stuff, but hope that was enjoyable and why I see Hebrews 13:9 as the same idea and helpful explanation as Revelation chapter 12, verse 15. God bless. Take care. See you soon.